welcome back to the show. Today I want to talk with you about something I've been sitting with for a long time, and I'm going to warn you up front. This one is going to make some people uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable just to write out the outline for this show, but I think that discomfort is exactly the point. Because I believe we are living through one of the greatest deceptions in human history. And the worst part of it, most of us are smiling while it happens. Let me start with a question. When was the last time you were bored? I mean, genuinely, truly, uncomfortably bored with nothing to look at, nothing to scroll through, nothing to listen to. Can you even remember? Because I talk to people every single day in this community, people in their 60s, their 70s, their 80s, who tell me they feel left behind. They feel like technology was supposed to make their lives better, easier, more connected. And instead they feel confused, excluded, like the world decided to move on without asking them. And you want to know something? That is not an accident. It is not. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are." So let's look at this thing in the face. Let's know it for what it is. Because what's happening to my audience, what's happening to you, is not a glitch. It is not a side effect. It is a design decision made by people who profit from your confusion. And here's what I mean. The average smartphone interface, it gets a significant redesign every 18 to 24 months. Not because the old one stopped working, because change creates dependency. Every time they move the button, change the menu, update the interface, you have to come back to them. You have to ask for help. You have to feel, even briefly, like you don't know what you're doing. And for millions of older adults, that brief feeling doesn't go away. It becomes their permanent relationship with technology. Now, I can't figure this out. I must not be smart enough. That's how they feel. That is not your failure. That is their product. Now, let me tell you something that should make every parent, every grandparent, every teacher in this community furious. A 2023 study published in JAMA Pediatrics found that children who spent more time on screens showed measurably reduced development in the areas of the brain responsible for language, attention, and self-regulation. A Stanford University study found that heavy multitasking across digital devices, the kind every teenager does every single night, impairs the brain's ability to filter irrelevant information and sustain focus. And a 2022 report from the National Assessment of Educational Progress, America's largest standardized testing program, showed that reading scores for 9-year-olds dropped by the largest margin ever recorded in the history of that test. The largest margin ever recorded in the history of that test. We are watching children's capacity for thought, for sustained, independent, effortful thought erode in real time. And we are handing them another device and calling it education. This is not just a children's problem. I want to be clear about that, because the same thing is happening to adults, to us. A University of Texas study found that simply having your smartphone on your desk, even face down, even turned off, reduces your available cognitive capacity. Just the presence of the device is enough to pull mental bandwidth away from the task in front of you. Now think about that. The phone doesn't even have to be on. GPS navigation has measurably reduced activity in the hippocampus. That's the part of the brain responsible for spatial reasoning and memory formation. People who use GPS instead of navigating independently show reduced gray matter in that region over time. We are literally outsourcing our brains just one convenience at a time. And here's the kicker. And now we are being told to hand our thinking over to artificial intelligence. Go figure. Now, I use AI. I'm going to be honest with you about that. I use it in my work. It helps me. I'm not standing here telling you that all technology is evil. That would be absolutely wrong. But what I am telling you is this. There is a profound difference between using a tool and being used by one. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Now keep in mind this comes from a former slave. A tool that thinks for you, writes for you, decides for you, remembers for you. What does that make you? If you outsource enough of your cognition, enough of your judgment, enough of your reasoning, what exactly is left? This is not a philosophical question anymore. This is a measurable, clinical, neurological reality. Use it or lose it. That principle does not make exceptions for artificial intelligence. And then there's the layer that nobody wants to talk about. Here, the shocker. The nefarious layer. The platforms you use every single day, the ones that show you the news, connect you with your family, entertain you, they're not built to inform you. They are not built to connect you. They are built to hold your attention as long as possible and sell it to the highest bidder. Facebook's own internal research, which they tried to hide, mind you, showed that their algorithms deliberately amplified emotional, outrageous content because outrage keeps people scrolling. They knew it was making people angrier, more divided, more anxious. They knew this. And they kept going because it was what? Profitable. The apps designed for children were built using the same psychological techniques as slot machines. Isn't that a kicker? Variable reward, unpredictable feedback, the endless pull to find out what happens next. Deliberately engineered to hook a developing brain. And the AI assistants being sold to you right now as helpful tools? Many of them are subscription businesses. Their financial incentive is not for you to become more capable and independent. Their financial incentive is for you to keep coming back, to stay a customer in the state that makes their product feel necessary. I said this about grief AI. It is just as true here, maybe even more so. So where does that leave us? Seneca wrote, "It is not that I am brave, but that I know what is worth fearing." Here is what is worth fearing. A generation of children who cannot read deeply, cannot focus, cannot tolerate boredom, cannot form an argument without a machine, entering a world of profound complexity that will demand exactly those skills from them. A generation of older adults who have been systematically excluded from the digital world, left to navigate it alone, vulnerable to the predators who have studied that vulnerability and built entire industries around exploiting it. And a society so dependent on algorithmic thinking, on AI-generated content, on machine-mediated communication, that we have quietly, gradually, without anyone asking permission, handed over the steering wheel. And if we do not course correct now, the question in 20 years will not be whether AI are smarter than us. The question will be whether we remember to think at all. So what do I want you to do with this? I'm not telling you to throw your phone in the lake. I'm telling you to pay attention, to reclaim your attention, actually. Because your attention is the most valuable thing you own. And there are trillion-dollar companies whose entire business model depends on taking it from you without you even noticing. Read something hard. Navigate somewhere without GPS. Have a conversation without Googling the answer. Write a letter, an actual letter. without asking AI to help you say it. Not because technology is evil, but because struggle is how the brain stays strong. Now, Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The power over your mind, that is what is at stake. Don't give it away for free, whatever you do. That's where I am today. I'm not certain about everything, but I am paying attention, and I think you should be too. Links to the research referenced in today's episode are in the show notes and the full post at techforgrownups.com. This is Tech for Grownups. Subscribe wherever you're listening from, and I will talk to you in the next one. Have a great day.